All right, Nickel City Mafia, what is up? We are back for another fantasy football recap. I am Chris Caldwell with my co-host Jeremy Ness. What's up, Jeremy?
Hey, nothing much. Just another good week of football.
Yes, sir. So we're seeing a trend this year where I think it's safe to say, right? Fantasy football is a bit wonky this year, and it's driven a lot by just lack of scoring in NFL games. And when there is scoring, it's kind of coming in different ways. Teams seem to be going with a really big run heavy attack, not really sitting back and airing it out a lot. So just give me your thoughts on that before we get started.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. We're just seeing less fantasy points and less scoring across the league. And I think it's where we're seeing the biggest impact is in the tight end position. We see a lot of these top tight ends that aren't putting up the points we expected them to. And a lot of it just becomes because the touchdowns aren't as many. They aren't seeing as many touchdowns for all these teams. And eventually it'll get better, right? We know it kind of regresses to the mean. Um, I do think maybe part of it is like the new preseason kind of vibe where teams rest a lot of players for most of the preseason now, and maybe they're just not quite in sync yet. A lot of players maybe not practicing as much, not getting as many reps, and as the season goes forward, I think we'll see everything kind of go up. Hopefully. How
Right.
about you?
I was just going to say, you're absolutely right about the tight ends.
Yeah,
Isaiah Likely is the tight end 5 on the year, and his last 2 weeks combined, he has 5 points.
yeah,
So that really shows, how dire of a situation it is for tight ends. Dallas Goddard is your overall tight end 1 on the year, and he did not much of anything until this past week. So interesting times, but we're going to find out a way to get through it. So what we are going to do is recap 5 games while taking any Q&A that you might have in the live chat. So please feel free to drop us some questions and we will happily stop what we're doing and get to them. All right. So first game we're going to go over is Bears at Colts. Colts get their first win on the year. Pretty ugly game. I don't know about you, but I was kind of thinking this would be more of a high scoring game with a lot of fantasy, highlights and big scores. We didn't really get much of that. So let's see. Tell us what you saw from this game. What were your main takeaways?
Yeah, I think we were all hoping for a shootout, and we saw that. The Bears' defense we knew was good, but they kind of held Richardson to not a lot of passing. Richardson just didn't look good as a passer this game. It's been an issue with him where kind of just targeting receivers, being accurate, sometimes an issue for him, and we saw him kind of struggle here. Whereas we saw Jonathan Taylor just go off for the Colts. He had a Jonathan Taylor monster game. One where I don't know if we see him have this all the time because Anthony Richardson's there to also rush, but in this game they just kind of gave it all to him. And on the Colts side, I don't know if I can start any of their receiving options at this point. I think it's Jonathan Taylor. You still have to start Anthony Richardson every week. And I think I'm like at the point where if I have Pittman, I'm benching him just because he's not reliable. But on the Chicago side, we saw some life, right? We saw Caleb actually threw for a ton of yards here, got a couple touchdowns. And he made some bad decisions too here, and their offense clearly needs some work. They're still working on the offense, but we saw a Roma Dunze breakout game. Cole Kmet is a big deal here. Before this game, we saw Cole Kmet basically splitting with
Gerald Everett.
Gerald Everett. And we saw him kind of take over the role, which is really what they should have been doing all along. He's the better tight end, younger, more athletic. And I think that's a big deal. I think he's got to be like the top tight end ad this week because a lot of teams dropped him. He's just sitting on the waiver wire. And with the way the tight end landscape is, I think he's a top ad this week. And honestly, I think going forward, you can buy low on this this Bears passing game. If you look at their next 4 games, they get the Rams, Carolina, Jacksonville, and Washington. All teams you can throw against. So I don't mind targeting buy low trades to get, if you're in quarterback trouble, go after Caleb Williams, going after a Dunze, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. And I think with the rushing here, I am selling or avoiding DeAndre Swift at all costs. He just doesn't look good. He's not getting the job done. I'm honestly surprised they didn't give more carries to some of the other guys. We saw Roshan Johnson get a lot here. I think he's like a sneaky kind of buy candidate or
I think
add
it's
off
the first time
waivers.
he dressed all year. I-
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but we know they like him, and he's pass catching back, which you always like to see in fantasy. So of the guys there, I kind of like him over Khalil Herbert to kind of maybe take over that role, or they go with some kind of three-headed monster approach. Who knows? But I don't think you can start DeAndre Swift too much. You can probably start him this week. He gets the Rams, so the Rams defense hasn't been great. But after this week, start him this week. Hopefully he goes off and then sell him. That's
yeah.
what I would do.
I like that call. Yeah, I was real big on Roshan Johnson preseason because I am not a DeAndre Swift believer whatsoever.
Yeah,
That's starting to come to light here. Um, I think Caleb Williams. I think the stat line there's a little bit of a fallacy here. I think he had a pretty bad game. Um, he had the 2 interceptions. He took 4 sacks and he had a fumble. I think if you invested, if you kind of took the shot and you waited on quarterback and you ended up with Caleb Williams, he was going in, I think, kind of the top 10 to 12 range in QB.
yeah,
You're probably 0-3 or 1-2 at this point. But I think you said it perfectly. Their next 4 games are totally gettable, especially through the air. So
yep,
this is the absolute worst time to panic sell any Bears. You do not want to do that because as bad as they've been, they're going to cakewalk through the next 4 games. I'm not going to say they're going to go 4-0. I'm going to say that
no,
they're going to score fantasy points, right?
yes,
So, yeah, I like this offense better when one of the receivers is hurt, right? So Keenan Allen's out. That means the targets funnel a little bit tighter. That's why you saw Rome Odunze break out with 11 targets. DJ
yep.
Moore still got his. And then
Cole commit, yeah,
Cole Kmet, stepped up. He's more of the receiving tight end. So I wonder maybe he got more work in the slot because Keenan was out. We'll see about that. I'm actually not
I
sure
agree.
how severe Keenan Allen's injury is, but whenever one of these 3 receivers are out, the other 2 are just must starts, and they're probably gonna smash.
Yeah, unless they're going against a good defense, yeah. But these next 4 games, I think they're must starts. Yeah, you can, DJ Moore or Dunze, you can start with confidence.
Yeah, let's
These
go
next
back
four
over to
games.
Pittman because I have him on a couple teams, dynasty teams, but I'm strongly consider benching him until I see a change.
I think you have
And
to. If you have a better option, and I mean, I would start like Rashad Shaheed over him. I know he had a bad game last week, but he still got a great target share. So I'm not worried about him bouncing back. There are a lot of players that kind of went after him. I would start over him at this point.
mm,
It's
So Brian Thomas is my choice
yep,
in this one league I'm in. So I think I'm going to starting Brian Thomas over Pittman, and feeling pretty decent about that. Yeah, Anthony Richardson is just not having a good year whatsoever. Even his first game when he kind of went off, it was pretty ugly, right? I mean, he
yeah.
did most of it on the ground and a couple really long passes to Alec Pierce. Besides that, he's been just really, really bad.
And that seems to be their guy. Alec Pierce is their long passing guy. So if it's honestly, it's almost like if you want to start one of them, Alec Pierce would be the one to start because at least he's getting these long passes. And the rest of them, who knows who's going to get the slot. Josh Downs is back in the mix too. So it's kind of all over the place there. But yeah, and that, not an exciting game to watch, except for, seeing how Caleb does and Odunze and stuff.
For sure. Yeah, so we wanted to highlight this game just to highlight the disappointment we had in it. I
Yeah.
swore it was going to be, a little bit more high scoring, but that's the NFL this year. You never know what's going to happen. It's been wild. So, anyway, on to our next game. My Ravens went to Dallas to play the Cowboys. I was present at the game and got to go through the giant roller coaster of emotions that was this game. The Ravens got out to a 28-6 lead and then just absolutely imploded upon themselves, did literally everything wrong that you could do wrong um, in the fourth quarter. winning 28-6 after three quarters, and then just absolutely melting. They let me see, blew multiple coverages. They let Dallas recover an onside kick. Um,
I
Dak
will say
looked
you
like
guys had some bad calls too. I usually harp on, like, I know Ravens fans love to say we got the bad calls. No, I this time I can agree as an unbiased watcher that, man, there were some pretty blown calls that were not great.
dude. Let's let's
But
let's let's take just 30 seconds and talk about this play that in the safety, if you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, yeah,
So Dak is in the end zone and he's running for his life. Justin Matabike sacks him. He's going down. His knee is 1 inch from the ground, and he just tosses the ball to his offensive lineman, and the offensive lineman catches it and then gets tackled. And they do not call it a safety because if you throw the ball away in the end zone, and to me, throwing the ball away is throwing the ball not near an eligible receiver.
yeah,
Apparently, the ruling that the feedback they gave John Harbaugh in real time was if the lineman would have dropped it, it would have been a safety and intentional grounding. But because he caught it, it wasn't. But WTF? Why does it matter if an ineligible player catches it
yeah,
or drops it? That is
yeah.
like the
It's the same. Yeah, I don't know the specifics of the rule, but yeah, it doesn't seem right to me. That seems ridiculous. It's still not a pass. Oh, we got a nice trade
yes.
question here.
So
All right.
Riggs, thanks for stopping by. Jeremy and I do a live Q&A every Tuesday, and appreciate you stopping by. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'd love to have you stick around for a little bit and ask all the questions you want. So, should I trade James Conner and Mike Evans for A Chain? I have Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown, so I'm feeling good at receiver. I have Shakir Higgins, Hopkins, and Judy as backups. 10-man PPR redraft. So I will just give my overall thought, just players aside, right? When you're in 10-man league, 99 times out of 100, you want to consolidate because there's always enough players that are good enough to be your last flex spot or your wide receiver three or whatever it may be. I'll let Jeremy give his answer, but that is the way I would think about trading if I was in a 10-person league, which I consider to be a small league. Good.
I agree. I think you're unfortunately selling a little low on Mike Evans here, but I don't mind it because A Chain is a hammer, and he's going to be a stud on your roster. And like Chris was saying, in a 10-man league, you want to have those studs. You want to have the best players there. You have Jefferson. Hopefully, AJ Brown is back soon, so you're good there. And then if not, you're starting Shakir. I think is an every week start at this point. We'll talk
Yeah.
about him a little later when we get to the Bills game. And yeah, Higgins is back. Hopkins had a great game. So yeah, no, I think it's a great trade. I think you get a top running back on a team that is probably going to be running a lot. So yeah,
Right.
I think go for it, man. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely love it. I almost think Mike Evans is a decent buy low candidate. So
Yeah,
this
I agree.
it's put it this way. It it's probably a good trade for that guy too, right? If he's
Yeah,
looking to do something like this, he's probably the injury bug got him bad. But I love the trade for your side getting A Chain because like Jeremy said, Shakir is an every week starter. I think Higgins is close to being an every week starter. And I actually don't mind Judy either. So um, yeah, man, I'm all for consolidation here, especially in a 10-man league. And A Chain is what probably like running back 3 or 4 on the year.
yeah,
What is he? No, a little lower than that. Okay, he's running back 12 on the year, but like you said, I think they're going to have to lean on him pretty hard. With Tua out, and so the volume should be there, and we know how explosive he is. So, player of his magnitude getting a lot of touches going to end well. So, uh, we're 2 for 2 on wanting the A Chain side. Go make that trade.
yeah. There you go.
Come back next
But
week. Tell us how you did.
but
And I think it's 2 weeks in a row now we have a trade that happened real time on the
yeah,
on the
yeah,
on
yeah,
the podcast. Someone said, "I just got offered this. Should I do it?" And then they say they accepted. So that's pretty cool
yeah.
stuff.
That's nice. But fantasy wise for this game, I mean, Lamar always gets you points, even in a game where he's not great. You know, he has that rushing ability, that epic rushing ability. He still gets you points there. And then go ahead and crown King Henry. Holy crap. The dude just goes off. And I feel like a lot of people were calling it this week. They were like, Dallas defense is not looking good. King Henry going to have a game. And he did. He just went nuts. Really disappointing on the receiving side for the Ravens, though. We saw just abysmal for both tight ends. Mark Andrews doesn't have a catch in this game. Likely has one. Um, the only person I'm confidently starting wide receiver wise, I think I'm still going to start Zay Flowers. He gets 4 targets, 3 receptions. I think just they were getting it done on the ground so well they didn't
Mhm.
need to throw as much. So you know, I'm kind of chalk it up to that. And you're starting Zay Flowers. The other guys, I mean, are we at bench Mark Andrews time now? And Isaiah
You know what's
Likely? I
funny
don't
is
know.
after week one, do you remember the question I asked you? I said, who would you rather have, Isaiah Likely or Mark Andrews? Who's going to score more points rest of
Yeah,
season? The answer is like neither.
neither.
They've
Yeah,
been
yeah,
so bad since that
yeah.
game. Um,
Oh, I
I
was
don't
talking
think,
to another Ravens fan buddy of mine, and he was just saying that the O line is not looking good for the Ravens, so the tight ends are having to work as blockers more, and they're just not able to get into the passing game that way.
yeah. So you see, their blocking tight end is Charlie Kohler here.
Yeah.
He had a big catch right at the beginning of the game, actually, on kind of like a naked bootleg. He was wide open. So
Mm.
I don't know. I don't think either of them are droppable,
No, for
because
sure. Yeah.
if one of them were to get hurt, I think the other one is just a focal point of the offense. But you said it right. The passing game, I wouldn't even say it was bad. Lamar Jackson threw 3 incomplete passes, and he was
Yeah.
not sacked.
Yeah. They just
So
didn't have to pass.
they didn't have to pass. I mean, it's not like, yeah, they just said, King Henry, it's you this game, and they let it happen. They got a lead and they just salted it away. Um, I don't really, I'm not going to overreact whatsoever to this.
Hmm.
I think it makes Zay Flowers kind of a interesting buy low if someone got frustrated here. I mean, when the game was on the line and they had to get that first down in the fourth quarter, they drew up a play to get Zay one on one, and they threw it to him.
Yeah,
So he's obviously their guy. Not too worried about this.
I agree. And then on the Dallas side of things, after having a horrible 3 quarters, the fourth quarter, all of a sudden Dallas comes to life. But Dak ends up having a pretty good game for you. The Dallas rushing game, I think you can drop Zeke. I think you
Oh, for
can.
sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
just
Yeah, he's gone.
and Dowdle, you can stash him, but you can't start him at this point. It's just the running game is non-existent for Dallas. CD doesn't have like a great game, but he's fine. He'll bounce back. He's CD Lamb. He's amazing. And then Jake Ferguson, he's back to 100% because he's in there getting the job done. They were throwing to him all day. 11 targets for Jake Ferguson. I think as long as he's healthy, he's probably a top 5 tight end going forward, right? With the way the tight end landscape is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Ferguson misses a week with the injury, but comes back and doesn't skip a beat. Um, Dude, just not on the topic of fantasy football, but just
Yeah.
football in general. Um, Smith looks cooked, dude. He's been so bad this year, and Ferguson's catches were all over the middle, and
Yep.
Roquan just, man, he he's the one that gave up the touchdown to Tolbert. That was his zone that he was supposed to be in,
Yeah.
and
We
he
had
couldn't
Tolbert as
guard
an ad
for.
last week too, and he comes away with a decent fantasy game there.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah,
So
he's someone still worth picking up, I think.
it's just really, fantasy football works funny, right?
Yeah.
Because the Ravens dominated this game. They had the better game plan. They had the better passing offense. But this is the stats you get when you're trailing by 20 points in the fourth quarter, right?
Yep.
So a lot of times fantasy football isn't real life, but that's okay. That's why we play. But yeah, we called it last week with Tolbert. He was a good ad. Um, I think he's kind of like he's getting there, being startable. I mean, I think in deeper leagues, he actually is startable. I actually started Cavante Turpin in a league, which was cool.
No, there you go. Yeah.
In one of our super deep leagues, I started him, so that was fun to see him get that TD. Um, yeah, nothing. The only other thing I would add is I think I like Rico Dowdle a good bit going forward because Zeke is just not it. Deuce
Yeah.
Vaughn is not an option. He's just too small. And if they liked him at all, they would give him more run because of how bad Zeke and how unimpressive Dowdle has been. But the 5 targets in the passing game for Dowdle, he had a couple of, nice moves in the open field. I'm actually not completely out on him. I think he's a decent bench stash if anyone drops him.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. So let me see. On to the next game. If you all have any Q&A that you would like to ask, feel free to drop it in the chat. All right. So now on to the more frustrating game of the week.
I
I
feel
don't
like
know
we
if
all
you
thought this was going to be fantasy points galore. We were like, all right, like they're both going to be throwing on each other. It's going to be
Yep.
great.
In a
Yeah.
dome. Here we go.
Yeah.
Wheels up. No,
I
didn't
mean,
end like that. The Chiefs squeak
Mahomes
away
has a
a
little bit of
win.
a bounce back game here for fantasy, I will say. Because,
Yeah. Holmes has been pretty mid all year.
yeah.
It was decent, but I think the Falcons they had a win stolen away from him here. A really, really, really bad no call on a pass interference on Kyle Pitts in the end zone. Um,
Yeah.
Kansas City player wasn't even looking at the ball. It actually hit him in the back of the helmet as he was like tackling Kyle Pitts. Anyway, home cooking on Kansas City. Not home cooking, but
Yeah.
refs just absolutely love them. So
Yeah.
that was frustrating. But tell me about Carson Steele. I mean, I think he was everyone's waiver wire darling last year and pretty much gets it done
Last week.
here.
Yeah. Yeah. He gets all the carries. We see him as the bulk, workhorse here. The problem is he just doesn't really have the talent. It doesn't seem like it. You can see how much better Isaiah Pacheco is
Mhm.
in watching him. But he still gets all the yardage. He didn't really get any passes. Samaje Perine gets the passing work there, and it just has me thinking that they're talking about potentially CEH coming back week 5. So I think he's like a sneaky ad because he could come right into this backfield and just take it away from Carson Steele. Um,
Yeah, agreed.
it's just kind of like Steele isn't. I don't know if Steele is startable every week unless you need him. Like if you need to start him, you can, but and it may be matchup dependent. But then Rashi Rice shows that he's the number 1 wide receiver. He's definitely a top guy this year, and I'm starting to get a little worried with Worthy. I don't think he's startable anymore, but like I keep saying, rookies second half of the season is when they bounce back and they have strong second half. So I think he'll be fine. I just think we're going to see Worthy maybe not get as many looks in this offense, and then Kelsey is like all time just panic meter, like for sure. I sold any shares I had of him before the season because there was all this coach talk about in the playoffs where they were resting him a bunch. He wasn't happy about it. And then going to the season, Andy Reid even said, like, we're going to plan to rest him a little bit. He's older. We want to use him when we need him. And I think that's what we're seeing happen. They have all these different passing options now, and they don't have to throw the ball to Kelsey 20 times a game.
Yeah. Yeah, he just doesn't look into it. There was
Yeah.
a couple videos going around where he just like is sitting on the bench, just completely uninterested in the game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, my panic meter might not be as high on him as it is Mark Andrews, but they're
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah. Yeah.
similar, right? Um, but yeah, man, Worthy, he was my number 1 sell high after week 1, just because the volume's not there for him. Even with Hollywood Brown out for the year, we were hoping, he would get a tick up in volume. But Kansas City, starting with the end of last year, they're super content to run the ball. And that's just the way their offense is going. Even with Isaiah Pacheco out, Clyde Edwards-Helaire out, 33 rush attempts from this team. They're even, running it with Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Rashee Rice is a locked and loaded top 5 wide receiver rest of season. This volume in a Patrick Mahomes offense, and he's producing too. So And just the type of routes he runs, he's going to be so consistent. I just don't see many dud weeks from Rashee Rice. Um, so yeah, he's locked and loaded. But I'm with you. Worthy's not startable right now. The problem is when he's not startable, that's when he's going to have his other 2 touchdown game. But yeah,
Exactly.
I'm not starting him anywhere for the time being.
Yeah, they're just
Yeah,
better options right now.
yeah, I agree. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a nice sneaky ad. He's eligible not this week, but next week. I'm not saying he's going to be your savior.
No.
I mean, Carson Steele averages over 4 yards a carry.
Yeah.
His long carry of the day is 9 yards, so nothing special, like you said. But I mean, if he's getting it done, he's getting 3 yard carries, 5 yard carries. That's probably what Andy Reid wants from him. So we'll see. I mean, I think he did fine, right? I mean, he got you. Let me see. I don't know, nine
Like 8
points, nine and a
points.
half points,
I
which
was
is
gonna say, yeah.
it's okay. But who do they have next week? Let's say if we would start him or not.
The Chiefs get the Chargers. Chargers have a pretty good defense. I just think you probably have a better option to start at running back than Carson Steele.
Yeah, agree. He's probably in the.
I mean, Kansas City is favored 8.5 points though, so I just think like
Tough
you
one.
probably have better options. But I'm okay if you need to start him. I'm okay starting him. But
Yeah,
then
Fantasy
on the other,
Pros has him ranked as a high end RB3.
yeah, I think he's probably a little higher than that. But I can see it. But on the other side of the ball here, Kirk Cousins maybe looks a little better, right? He's still not really super mobile yet. He's doesn't look 100%. I kind of wish Bijan did a little more of this game. He did okay, but
He got
not
saved by
great.
his touchdown. Yeah,
Yeah, he gets saved by his touchdown. Drake
gets
London looks
stopped on
great.
with the game on the line, fourth
Yeah,
and one.
yeah,
Bad play call though. Why? How do
yeah,
you run a
yeah,
toss play with the game on the line? Yeah,
yeah. No, I think that this offense just needs some work. But I'm happy to see Drake London do well. That's something everybody's been wanting to see. I think Darnell Mooney is a must add if he's still sitting out there. He's shown it a few games in a row now where he gets all these targets. He makes the catches. And then Kyle Pitts. Are you worried about Kyle Pitts, or the targets are coming and the catches will keep coming?
I'm not really worried about him because I think this offense is pretty consolidated. So it's not like the Bills, who we'll get to next, that have 9, 10, 11 different pass catchers. It's
Yeah,
just London, Mooney, Pitts. That's pretty much it on a weekly basis in terms, the non-running backs. So yeah, Mooney's running every route in this offense. So I think he's a fine start. I'm not worried about Pitts quite yet, although I think I've finally come to the conclusion that it's that breakout that we're waiting for, to the level that we want him to break out, is just not happening. I mean,
yeah.
we would have seen it by now, right? I mean, he's had what? This is his 3rd year or 4th year?
I think third, yeah, or maybe is it fourth? But anyway, I think he has this year to do it. I think if we don't see it this year, we probably won't see it. But tight ends are crazy like that. He's a physical freak of an athlete. He's a great athlete. Tight ends could, just go off one year and go crazy. I think they're still working on the offense here. And like I said, Kirk's not 100%. I'd be curious if we see Pitts get a larger role if Kirk gets to that 100%, like back to full health again. Um, and also, I think the panic meter isn't crazy on him because so many tight ends are having bad years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay that he's also having a bad start. So I think he can bounce back and still do all right for you. I mean, you're still starting him every week. So if you have him,
Let's see here where he's ranked. He's probably around like, yeah. I mean, he's tight end 10 in points on the year. So
yeah,
where did we draft him? Around tight end 5 or 6.
yeah, probably.
So he's probably, pretty much on par so far. So yeah, panic meter low on Kyle Pitts. If anything, I think he's a buy low or a decent buy right now.
And then we
Okay.
get to,
What are you saying?
I was going to say, on to Monday night, a crazy Monday
Hmm.
night.
Crazy Monday Night Football. Yeah, I think it's weird how they didn't have two Monday Night Football games on opening week, but then they did this week all of a
And
sudden.
yeah,
I don't know.
but yeah,
Not really following that.
last weekend and this weekend, we get it both. We get back to
Yeah.
back double Monday night games. But yeah, Nickel City Mafia is very happy with this game.
Hmm.
Josh Allen just goes crazy. Like, damn, 4 touchdowns, 263 yards, 44 yards rushing. Like, this is why he's the number one fantasy quarterback right here.
Hmm.
He just does this. Um,
Most of it in the first half too.
yeah. And everybody was getting a touchdown. They were like, "You get a touchdown, you get a touchdown, you get a touchdown. Everybody gets some
Full
touchdowns."
Oprah. Yep.
Oh man, oh yeah. I mean, James Cook takes the lead, but then they let after they get a lead, they let Ray Davis come in, which I thought that was interesting. I like Ray Davis as a prospect. They kind of give him a touchdown, and it's like it's a goal line touchdown, and that's kind of the role that people thought we could see him in, as being a goal line back. So that's interesting for maybe in the future, if they give him some more work, he could be taking away some of those goal line touches from James Cook. I'm happy Kincaid has a good game. It's not a great game, but 5 targets, he gets a touchdown in there, 3 for 41. And then we said this earlier, but Khalil Shakir, I wasn't super high on him, but he's an every week start. He's getting the same. He's getting like the same targets every week. He gets these like 5 to 6 targets. He catches all of them, and he gets about 60 to 70 yards. And if he gets a touchdown in there, you're super happy. So
Yeah, so
I think he's just
he's
consistent.
wide receiver 17 on the year. He has not had a game with less than 10 fantasy points. He's super consistent. He's a
Yeah,
slot option in a situation where there's just so much at play. There's so many receivers and tight ends being worked in. They're giving the ball to the running backs a lot. The one consistent thing for them this year is James Cook has been good on the ground and he's been involved in the passing game, which is what we've wanted. And Shakir is just owning the slot usage. So those are the only two consistent things so far. And then, Coleman hasn't really got going. Samuel hasn't really got going. Mac Hollins is kind of just their blocker. Ty Johnson with a couple decent games in a row. I mean, I don't know last week that he scored that many points, but I know he had a nice catch or two.
yeah,
But yeah, Ty Johnson, I don't think he's an ad because of the Ray Davis stuff, but
yeah.
always kind of liked him as a player.
It's good to see Curtis Samuel back out there. He's been dealing with turf toe injury, so just see him like get involved at all is a good sign for the Bills offense. I think to have that other option. Before he got hurt, I was high on him this year. I think he can kind of contribute to this offense. I don't know if he'll be fantasy relevant because he's kind of working his way back into it, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see. And then the Jacksonville side, T Law is rough, man. I like. Are we panicking on T Law now?
Well, okay, maybe this is a rude question.
No.
Has he ever been good?
It's supposed to be, right? And
Yeah, a lot
he's
is
supposed to
supposed to.
like he's supposed to rush more too, and he hasn't really. He's not even doing that for you.
Has he? I don't know. Has there ever been 3 or 4 games in a row where we were like, "Damn, that's what he was like. That's what he was supposed to be." I don't think so.
Yeah, it's
He's always just been the name. Like he kind of never gets critiqued publicly. You know, people are like, I saw he has the most interceptions in the NFL since he got drafted.
so 2022 he was QB 8, and then 23 QB 13, and so far this year he's 28. So not having a good start this year. But I think
Yeah,
part of it is we haven't seen him do much rushing. The Jaguars haven't really, they've had a lot of bad games. Um, but ETN is
I
still
thought the
every week
weapons were
start.
finally there this year, right?
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I think Brian Thomas looks great. He's gonna just keep getting better. He's a rookie that's still learning and getting into it. Christian Kirk had a great game. They've got Gabe Davis there, Parker Washington, Brandon Strange fills in for Ingram and gets a touchdown. Uh, I the weapons are there. I think the game gets away from them, and we just don't see anything from T Law to really, he doesn't have that Dak Prescott come back and put up a bunch of points game that
Right.
he probably needed to have.
I'm
So
wondering if Doug Peterson's time in Jacksonville is limited here. I mean, I know the defense has just been awful, but they have the offensive weapons and apparently the QB, right? They have the running back. They should not be looking this bad. So, um, Jacksonville being, in play for the number one overall pick was not on my bingo card at all this year.
yeah.
But it's somewhat trending that way. Hey, Jason, what's up? Thanks for stopping by the channel. Appreciate the question. Will you trade McBride and Sutton for Stevenson and Pittman? My backup tight end is Ferguson. I don't know if he's your backup
Um,
tight end, dude. Might be your number one tight end.
no, I love McBride. I think I still have him as like, you know, top 1 and 2 tight ends on the for the rest of the season going forward. I think he'll bounce back. We were saying earlier in the show, we're not big Pittman fans. It's not looking good for him in Indianapolis. And then Stevenson, he's doing better than I thought. Um, I just think for McBride, you could probably get somebody better. I would almost go for like a 2-for-1 situation. If you're trying to trade away Sutton, maybe try to go like McBride Sutton for a top tier wide receiver. Garrett Wilson is probably a good buy low right now, although he's got some tough games coming up. Um, but I still think he's a good buy low. You might still be able to get Chris Olave in that situation if somebody's desperate for a tight end, a top tight end.
Yeah. I was gonna go the same way you're going with
Yeah,
it. Because you have McBride and Ferguson, and I think they're both really good options. I would trade one of them, and McBride is just gonna net you a lot more in the trade than Ferguson is, just for name's sake, right? I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
Um, but I like McBride plus Sutton for. Let's see here. Um,
I was say I'd go after Drake London maybe even or Ayuk.
Nico
I was
Collins.
trying to think if you do need a running back, you know what? Offer CMC. Maybe the CMC owner is pissed if your team's doing well and you can hold off on CMC not coming back till week 7 or something. You could go after CMC and just smash the second half of the season, and
Do
there's
you
a
think
little
he's
bit of
definitely
a
coming back
chance
this
there.
year?
I think so, but it's such a weird situation. But it's if you want to take a chance on it, he could be a home run for the second half of the season there. But
Yeah, I definitely a
um,
risky move. So Jason,
yeah,
I think we both gave you the same answer.
yeah,
I wouldn't trade.
I wouldn't do this trade.
I wouldn't do this trade, but I like that you're trying to trade one of your tight ends because it, it's not worth it having both of them. Um, I really see what you're trying to do. You're like buying low on Stevenson and Pittman. I just think I'm nervous about both of them bouncing
Yeah,
back. Stevenson for the offense that he's in, Pittman for the shit QB he has. So I think we can just do a different flavor of trade. McBride plus Sutton for a hammer wide receiver or
yeah,
a hammer running back that you're going to start every week, just locked and loaded. That's what I would go for.
and maybe like Travis Etienne, somebody
Yeah,
kind
he
of in
said
that
trying to
range.
trying to get a running back. So
Yeah, I would go like
Jeremy suggested
Etienne, Kenneth
CMC.
Walker.
Yep,
If you
I
need
like
somebody starting now, if
Jonathan
you believe,
Taylor.
I
Yeah.
have J.K. Dobbins as a sell, but if you believe in J.K. Dobbins, I'm okay going after J.K. Dobbins. They're giving him all the work, and he looks awesome. So I'm okay with going after him too in this situation. Although you probably wouldn't have to throw in Sutton, maybe.
Yeah, you might be able to
Um,
get Dobbins straight up for. Yeah, I
yeah,
wouldn't give up both of them for Dobbins. I don't know. What about like Jameer Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor? Any of those are definites for me.
yeah. I
Um,
just don't know if you might have to up
yeah,
your wide receiver from Sutton to somebody a little better to get into the top tier range. But yeah, go after some of these top guys. See what you can do. See what you can do. Maybe even King Henry. And we got another question here from Edion again. Welcome back, Edion. Hope I'm saying that right and not butchering it.
yeah. What's up, man? He was here last week. Appreciate you
Yeah.
stopping back. I traded Monty for Jacobs and Daniel. Oh, two trades. I traded Monty for Jacobs and Daniels for Pollard.
I like it. In Tennessee, they seem to be giving Pollard all the work. So I think he's a great grab there, especially for a backup quarterback for somebody you can start every week is awesome. Um, Monty for Jacobs. Again, Montgomery is sharing work with Gibbs, so you're kind of tearing up from Monty to Josh Jacobs, who is getting all the work in Green Bay, especially with Jordan Love out. And when Jordan Love gets back in, hopefully he gets some passing work in there too and stuff. So I think both are great trades there. What do you think?
Yeah, little shaky on the Daniels for Pollard trade
Yeah,
because we'll get to
because he
that
just
game
blew up.
next. But oh my God, Jaden Daniels
Yeah,
is him, dude. That it was
yeah,
freaking amazing. So,
yeah. That's
um,
only what I wrote in my notes. Just Jade Daniels is him, all caps. That's what my notes say.
why would you need any more notes than that?
No, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, looking to move Pollard for Mason. What do you think? I mean, this all comes down to your belief about CMC and when he'll be back. Because I like Mason better than Pollard for now,
I agree.
but I don't know, man. If CMC comes back,
I
in
say
two or
yes.
three,
I say go
you
for it.
would.
I just think Pollard, like they're giving him the ball now, but they still have Tajay Spears there. Mason is just the guy in San Fran for however long it's going to be, and he's just going to be the locked in top 10 or top 5 start every week. Whereas Pollard is going to be like a top 15, right? Top 15, top 20 start every week. So if you can move Pollard for Mason, I think that's a good move. Because I'd rather grab Mason and get like hopefully guaranteed wins that you're getting out of him now.
Right. I mean, because CMC is over in where Germany getting second opinions on his
Yeah,
Achilles doesn't sound good. So at the very least, he's probably out 3 more weeks,
it's
4 more weeks.
crazy they were able to hide all this from everybody. That's what I'm like. I still can't get over it, and I feel bad for every CMC fantasy owner because it's a shot in the leg. It just sucks.
Brutal. He says he has Kyler, Brees, Jacobs, Pollard, Akers, and sadly
Braylon.
Mark.
Braylon's a nice stash there. Yeah, sadly, Mark. Yeah, but yeah,
He did.
Nico, MHJ. Yeah, you're set, dude. You're good. I would definitely.
He said he
I
doesn't
mean,
know what to
even if
do at
you,
tight end, but Ingram is on the waivers. Is
yeah.
Cole
So
Kmet on the
snag
waivers?
snag Ingram, yeah, or Komet, Ingram or Komet. I haven't seen a timetable on Ingram yet. Have you? I didn't
No,
think it
it's a
was supposed to be long.
hamstring, so that's
Yeah,
those are iffy.
yeah.
Let me see, Nico. I would trade, man. I would trade. You have really good receivers, and you're like deep, like almost too deep. I would trade
Try to move Pittman.
Pittman.
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe sell high on Rome because you're probably not starting either of them.
yeah. I would trade Pittman or Rome, whatever one you could trade for more. And
Maybe
then
with Mark Andrews and
yeah, but I don't know that Mark Andrews has any value right now.
yeah, but maybe if a team is desperate for wide receiver, and you're giving them like, I mean, sometimes you got to package Pittman, Rome, Mark for like Bowers.
That's so much.
Yeah, I know, but he could do it, and then you're locked in tight end the rest of the year.
I would hold on Andrews and maybe just try to get a cheaper tight end option just for right now until we get more comfy with Andrews. I,
He says they're both on waivers, Ingram and Komet. Yeah, then grab Komet to start for next week because we just saw him get all these targets. But
yep.
who should he drop? Is the next question though. That's where it gets
Well,
tough.
yeah, we don't know who else might be
Probably
on his
Braylon
bench.
Allen,
Acres. No, Acres.
Akers. Oh, yeah, that's
Keep
right. Because
keep yeah.
yeah, Mixon's back. Sorry, that's the right
Pick
call.
up
I
pick up
forgot Akers
Komet
was
and
there.
drop Acres, and
Yeah,
let's not blow it up. Let's just start Komet for now because their
yeah,
schedule's so easy coming up. Drop Acres and just wait for Mark Andrews to bounce back. But just in general, I would try to do like a 2-for-1 somewhere because you're so deep on receiver. I'd try to like tier up somewhere. Maybe, yeah, you'll figure it out. Who do I drop? Both are there. Okay, yeah, we already said Acres.
yep.
Yeah. Thanks for coming by again, man. You were here last week, so really appreciate you stopping by the channel. Thanks. All right. Anything else to talk about during this shit show game? What is James? What is James Cook's rank on the year? He is running back 6. Okay. Never had less than 13 points a game. Running back 6 on the year. It is just wild how much higher scoring running backs have been than wide receivers this year.
Oh yeah. If you pick the right ones, you're feeling pretty confident and doing pretty well for sure.
And the trend for the last couple of years has been going, wide receiver heavy and just loading up on
Yeah.
wideouts. But people that went the old school route and went with running back heavy are definitely feasting this year so
I
far.
think we'll see it regress to the mean. We'll see it bounce back for the second half, you know?
Yeah, pretty likely.
Yeah.
All
Thanks,
right.
Adion,
Well,
for jumping in. We appreciate the questions. It's always fun for us. And now
yeah,
to the
for
most
sure.
important game of the week and the best game of the
Well,
week.
well, before we go to that important game, so Bills come to Baltimore to play my Ravens
Oh,
this
that's right.
week.
Yes.
So Nickel City Mafia channel, get your boy on there to talk Ravens Bills. It's going to be a good game, I think. High scoring.
Here we go.
Okay, so on
Yeah.
to your
Yeah.
Commanders.
There we go.
Thank you for. Oh wow, he's got one already. Look at that. That's pretty dope.
It's just the shirt. I haven't sprung for the jersey yet, but
Oh, it's
oh
just
yeah.
okay. You got to see him do a couple more fantasy performances like this before you spring
No,
for the jersey, huh?
so I flew back home to watch the game with my dad, and after the game, I was like, I guess we got to get a Daniels jersey now, both of us. Like, damn.
Nice.
He did it all. He did everything, and he looked great. The highest completion percentage by a rookie ever in a game. He just looked amazing, and the Bengals aren't a bad team. Oh, maybe they are. They aren't supposed to be a bad team.
The defense is pretty trash. It was at the end of the year last year, and then they also lost Jesse Bates, who was their best defender. So I think they're reeling a little bit.
Yeah,
But I'm not taking away from a performance like that from Jaden Daniels. But I think the Bengals are a team to attack for fantasy football. Whoever they're playing, they just been. I mean, they lost to the damn Patriots. So
yeah.
there's that.
But no, Daniels just has an insane game. I'm gonna find it tough. One of the leagues that you and I are in, my two quarterbacks are Mahomes and Jaden Daniels, and I'm gonna find it tough who to start every week. I think it was gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a tough one who to start every week there.
Jaden's QB2 on the year.
Yeah, he can be a top 5 QB the rest of the way. I know he's a rookie. I don't think it's gonna happen every week like this, but I think you can play him with matchups and just start him based on matchups, especially for where you drafted him. You probably got him in the 10th round or something, QB like 14, maybe 12. He went, little people took him a little higher. But also in this game, we get a Terry game. F1 McLaurin.
We've
Scary
been
Terry.
talking about it for weeks. We said
he's been patient.
Yeah, we said why have they not been using Jaden Daniels' arm? And I've been saying he throws such a pretty deep ball, and then lo and behold, I turn on the TV, and one of the first plays I see is that 55-yard strike to McLaurin. That was pretty freaking cool. Yeah,
loved it. And I don't know if you saw before the game, I think it was the week before, they were asking one of the Bengals corners, and he was like, "Oh, he's a rookie. They run a college offense. They don't let him throw the ball. He just it's not a real offense." And then they just came out and destroyed the Bengals with these. And this is what, like we said last week, this is what Jaden's known for: these incredibly accurate deep passes, and that's what he did. His passes were so great. So that touchdown to McLaurin was beautiful. Oh my gosh, he just puts it exactly where it needs to go. I'm insanely excited to be a Washington fan. And Terry, he was patient. He never said anything bad about, and he's gone through like 12 quarterbacks. He's never said anything bad about it. He's kind of waited Jaden through his first couple of kind of rough games with passing right, and then this is a get right game for him. And hopefully they use him this way going forward. We see some more bombs. We see some more Terry action. Other than that, Zach Ertz gets a bunch, 5 receptions. He's getting these little over the middle receptions, some first down markers and stuff. Luke McCaffrey finally sees some usage. That was somebody that people kind of liked after the Dotson trade. So just somebody to keep an eye on, not worth a pickup. I do think a sneaky ad, though, is Noah Brown. So from Houston, now on the Washington team, he might be the second best receiver on this team. He's a bigger guy. He made some great catches with Deshaun when Tank got hurt last year. I think we could see him kind of like as he gets more comfortable with the Washington team, end up being the number 2 there. So he could be, if you're in a deeper league, could be a sneaky ad. And then I don't know if you saw Eckler gets a little banged up. I haven't heard too much yet about his status or anything, but B-Rob still got, all the carries, and he's still the running back you want there. But Eckler does, he gets some pass catches, he gets a touchdown.
Yeah, we were saying last week how Eckler's probably not startable. I mean, 5
Yeah,
touches on this offense in a
yeah,
normal week, probably not startable. He had a really nice touchdown run,
he did.
but I think this is a little bit fool's gold here.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. Unless something happens to B-Rob that's, which it's went the opposite way. So,
right.
and
So
then
let's
on the
hop over
Cincinnati
to
side, oh yeah,
before we
sure.
get to that, let's hop over to this question. So, um, he says, what you think I should, yeah, like, I guess what one player
Who to
should you
trade
go
for? Yeah,
after to trade Shakir and Pittman for? Um, do you want a wide
they're
receiver or
not
running back?
they're not exciting players. You might have to. I would maybe go like Pittman and Rome. I don't know. Do you think Shakir's like an exciting enough player to be able to kind of get somebody higher up with that
I have an idea
situation?
for those
Yeah,
two. Jaden Reed,
yeah,
because I heard Jordan Love is going to come back this week, or it's trending
very
that way.
possible. Yeah,
And Jaden Reed had a really nice week 1 with Jordan Love. And I just think he's going to be a decent amount better than Pittman. And I'm not going to say Shakir is just a throw in because I do think he's a viable flex. But the team that you told us you have, you had Rome and Higgins and all this stuff. I don't know that.
he says he asked for Reed, but got a no on that one. Maybe
Oh, that's
Debo.
funny.
Debo Samuel's banged up. Maybe go after Debo with that.
Brandon
The
Ayuk.
owner gets people he can start right away. Yeah, Brandon Ayuk has had some bad games. We think he's going to bounce back. That's a good target there.
Yeah, I don't really think you're going to get anyone higher than that. I don't think.
Big
I don't
Mike
think
Evans
I
after a
wouldn't do
down
that.
week.
I wouldn't do that.
No, I think he comes
Nah.
back. I think he'll be fine.
I
He's too
mean,
good.
Pittman's just
1,000-yard Mike Evans.
I don't know. I think
He'll be
Pittman's
fine.
just he's been a little bit too good to sell him that low. Um,
I don't think it's selling him low. I think he's going to bounce back and be fine. Good Godwin can't keep getting every single pass. Evans is too good. Evans
true,
just had
true.
he played against a really good corner last week.
Yeah, so that's the kind of tier we're looking at. Yeah, someone around. Ooh, yeah, someone around Jaden Reed, Mike Evans, Zay Flowers, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Moore, someone like
Garrett
that.
Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Good luck, man. And Shakir might be worth something on the market because
Yeah.
he's had 3 really nice games this year. So I think he's becoming a household name, especially because he just played on national televised game. I find that stuff really matters
Yeah.
when everyone watches the game and sees the touchdown, right?
But just gonna say we both called the Jamar Chase bounce back game.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Commanders do not have a good secondary. Jamar Chase is gonna go crazy. I think I even said 2 touchdowns. But yeah,
Yeah.
he goes 6 for 118, 2 touchdowns. I think he probably should have had more even. And we see an interesting, Gesicki is still getting used. T. Higgins, maybe he's not quite 100% yet because he doesn't get a lot in this game. And they still love Yosevach, excuse me. I think he's like the new Tyler Boyd spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of deal.
Big slot. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they really trust him in the end zone. Burrow seems to really trust him in the end zone a lot. He's definitely worth hanging on to. It's like he could be a bye week fill in. He kind of is an every week starter right now, but it's just because he's getting these touchdowns.
Yeah, I think if I owned him, I might look to sell just because I think you said it right when you said this is T. Higgins' first week back, and
Yeah.
I think he's only going to get more involved in the offense. So Yoshivas, as much as a nice player that he looks like, I think, that's T. Higgins has earned that role over the last 3 years. So I don't know that he's going to permanently um, be supplanted by Yoshivas.
Yeah.
So let's see. We got another question here from Super Size. Thanks for the question, man. Appreciate it. We do this every Tuesday, live Q&A. So please stop by. If I had to keep one defense for the long haul, which would you keep, Chargers or Chiefs? Or should I just stream defenses each week because I want to snatch up Cole Kmet and need space? I like the idea of keeping a player rather than two defenses. I'll just start there.
I agree.
I don't,
I'm a big proponent of streaming defenses.
for sure.
Yeah.
As for starting, what defense is better rest of season? I just kind of, I'm not trying to be rude. I've just never thought of that because I never look to keep a defense for longer than like 2 weeks. Sometimes I'll pick up a defense if I'm like between two defenses of which to pick up. I'll see like who has a better matchup in the next game, and then I'll like go for that one instead. But I don't. I've never. I have 11 fantasy football teams, and I've never said, "Oh, I'm set on defense because I have so and so." I don't think that way.
I have like one league where I have the Jets and the Ravens defense, and I just flop each week based on matchups. So that's like the only league I do. Then everywhere else I stream. Both the Chiefs and Chargers don't have great games coming up. If you want to look at one, Vegas has a few in a row that are pretty good. The next, I think, two or three.
So that's what I did last week. I picked up Vegas in like 4 of my leagues because they actually had like 3 smash spots in a row.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. They're just really bad on defense. Like I thought with Crosby and the defensive minded head coach, I thought, Vegas with good matchups coming up would be really good. And dude, they completely dudded this past week. Andy Dalton ripped them to shreds. I mean,
yeah, I give them another chance to get Cleveland, though. They get Cleveland this week, and Cleveland just looks bad. But other options for this week, you got I've got both the Dolphins and Titans who play against each other. Both of them, the offenses aren't great, and either of those defenses are startable. I think this week.
Yeah, I like Dolphins.
I've got them as a top 10 start.
Levis is a turnover machine, and Dolphins D. If you just look back on their history, they're just always in the top eight to 10, right? So I like to look at that history and really lean on that because, defense is kind of a culture. And, just like the Ravens always have a good defense, Bills always have a good defense, Dolphins always have a good defense. So I like to lean on that.
But yeah, I would stash up Cole Kmet and stream defenses is what I would do personally. And then we got Edion. So there's a few top defenses I would hold on to. The Niners are one of them, especially they get the Patriots. So definitely hold on to the Niners. They get the Patriots, Cardinals, Seahawks.
The Niners are the best defense this coming week. Between the Niners and Jets, and Cowboys. I like all 3 of those.
So yeah, hold on to the Niners. That's one of the usually when it's like a top 3 defense, that's one you can hold on to.
Here's the thing. You said drop the Niners and stream. Well, if I was streaming defenses, I would pick up the Niners for this week. They're the number one defense this week.
Yeah.
In a 12 team with $145 in fantasy bucks, how much should I spend on Juwan Jennings? Yeah, we haven't talked about him yet. I don't need him exactly, but I want to take him off the board. I have St. Brown, Lamb, and Brian Thomas. Okay. And again, I like to, a lot of times when you're asked questions, I like to give an answer that's like somewhat not about the players involved. Be careful about doing something that's not for your team and anti other teams. To me, I've always found that can hurt you a little bit, and focus on your team. Let the other 11 teams focus on their team. But I see what you mean. Sometimes it sucks to spend a lot of money on someone and pick them up and, not need them. But I don't think there's anything really wrong with it. What do you think, Jeremy? I mean, well, how much would you spend here?
Yeah, I think Juwan Jennings is probably startable. We need to hear more about Debo and Kittle, what their timelines are and stuff. But until they're back, they've showed last week that Juwan Jennings is somebody they like and they're going to throw to. I think it won't be that crazy. Ayuk is going to come back into the game, or they wouldn't have signed him for so much money. um, I don't know. With this one, I would probably go in like the 45 range. 40. Oh, actually, I like to do like not normal numbers, like 47, or 43. Like, don't do like a 5. Don't do like an even number. I do like a weird number to try to beat somebody by $1 sometimes here or there. But I think if you're going like, 47, 43 range, something like that, you're still left with like $100 left over. Chris knows I'm also a big believer of like spend early. Don't get stuck with all your money at the end of the year. Because otherwise, what are you going to use it for? Um, but yeah, I I think it's worth grabbing them for like 40, 43, maybe I would say. What do you think? If you were to give a number, you'd probably go a little less.
Let me see. He said, to be clear, I have Tyler Lockett drop, so it's not like I can't roster.
Would you'd be dropping Tyler Lockett instead of Jennings? I think I'd rather have Lockett than Jennings, just because we know Debo and Kittle will eventually come back.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
I also wonder if you're starting 2 wide receivers or 3. Yeah, he'd be dropping Lockett for Jennings. Yeah, I just don't think you go crazy here. If you like Jennings over Lockett, I would just do like a modest bid here. But are you starting 2 wide receivers or 3? I mean, if you're only starting 2 and Brian Thomas is technically like your backup, Jennings isn't getting anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like he's not getting near your starting lineup. So I would not spend any money on him. But that's just me
Yeah.
because
If you don't need to start him, if there's no chance you're going to start him, then it's kind of probably worth saving.
I
Two,
don't
and
know
yeah,
how
you're only
much.
starting 2 wide receivers. Oh, you got to
Yeah,
flex though.
but so I don't know how much money you started with, but I don't know. There's different strategies, right? I mean, so if I'm struggling at the beginning of the year, I'm more likely to just blow my money and get me a spot starter for a week or two to try to stay in the race. But if I'm doing well, like I'm 3-0 or 2-1, and I don't need to pick up anyone to start, I would probably just hoard my money and wait for like a running back injury and then just spend it all in 1 week on the handcuff, right?
Yeah, I agree with that, especially seeing that Super Size Senpai, seeing that you're only starting 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. I don't think it's worth dropping Lockett for Jennings, and you're spending money to do it too. So knowing like it can make a big difference, your team structure, your league structure, and things like that. Especially if you're dropping Lockett to get him, it probably means that the waiver wire has a decent amount of uh, that's good. I'm 3-0. I have a pretty amazing team. Smelling my own farts.
How
Nice.
much
I
money
like
did
that.
you?
Yeah.
We're going very into depth over a fab bid here, but how much money did you start with? I'm just curious. Probably like 200.
Yeah.
But
So yeah,
yeah,
on this one, just now with a little bit more information, it's not worth. I don't think it's worth picking up Jennings. Chris is right. Wait, save your money for like a running back injury or something where you can have really big upside getting somebody
right.
off the waiver wire.
Yeah. So super size. Thanks for the question. If you don't mind, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and come back and hang with us next week. Appreciate it. Oh,
Yeah.
he said he started with 150 and he still has
Yeah.
145. Yeah, I'm just saving that and I'm waiting for a big running back injury and just smash the backup. That's what I'm gonna
Yeah.
do.
I agree.
Okay. T Money, thanks for the question, man. 10-man PPR, Burrow, Jacobs, Connor, CD, Chase, Kincaid, DK, JMO, Ford, Mooney, Watson, Worthy, Brooks.
Damn, dude. Nice job.
Should I trade Connor
Brooks on
and
IR.
JMO for Moore and Rashad White? So I hate Rashad White and I would still do this.
Wait, yeah?
I think so.
You hate Connor more? I see. I
I
think I
just
like
think I
JMO better than DJ Moore.
no.
No, you're the other way around there.
You don't think so? You think so?
I think they're close. But and this week JMO, is down a bit, so that kind of gives me a little worry there. Um, I guess I would lean DJ Moore a little bit. I have him ranked a little higher. And then James Conner, though, I think I have him pretty close to Rashad, or I have him a little high. I have him higher than Rashad. I'm down on Rashad
Oh,
too. It seems like
so
Bucky's
you
going to
see
take
this
over.
up? He also got this offer, which I would do this one.
Oh yes, do the JT one, dude,
Yeah, do this
all
one.
day. Okay,
So
yes,
the
just
so the
smash
previous
accept
one,
that one.
pretty much a wash. I mean, I like DJ Moore a little bit more than JMO,
Yeah,
and I
I,
like
I like
probably
Connor more than
Connor a
Rashad.
little
Yeah.
bit more than Rashad White. So that's probably a wash. But dude, if you're getting
Yes,
JT for those two, that's a done
yeah,
deal.
yeah. We're always about trading, two players to get an elite player, and that's what you're doing there. So just definitely, especially getting him on like a high week where he just like his value is probably the highest it might be this year.
Mhm.
That's getting him pretty cheap, I think.
Just in general, this has nothing to do with any players, but if you're playing an 8 team league, which there's probably not many of them, but a 10 team league I consider to be small. Whenever you're in a 10 team league or smaller, you always consolidate, meaning you do 3 players for one, 2 players for one, 3 players for two. You always want to downsize because there's always players on the waiver wire that are startable.
Yep.
So if you're in a 14 team league or 16 team league, you tend to not want to do that, right? Because there's less startable players, and you need to make sure that you're not your flex number 2 or your wide receiver 3 isn't just a total dud. So 10 team, and I would consider a 12 team league like the middle ground where you kind of just play and trade normal. Anything more than 12, look for depth. Anything less than 10 or less, you always consolidate. So just use that as a general rule of thumb.
I think we'd
All
pretty
right.
much wrapped up the Commanders Bengals game. I had one last thing, just a quick add was just we saw Chase Brown get a little bit of usage, but it's still Zach Moss's backfield. But should something happen to Zach Moss, Chase Brown is immediate top 10 running back there.
Yeah, sorry, I'll pull that back up.
Uh,
Um,
no, that's all I was saying. That's all I say about that. But then T Money saying I'm gonna try first see if he would do Marvin Harrison for Connor and Jama, but I doubt. Yeah, people love Marvin Harrison. That's a tough one.
yeah,
I would just smash accept the JT one, dude, and just be so happy, so happy.
mhm,
That's a great deal. You don't have
yeah,
to worry about
agreed.
your running back the rest of the year. Another question. I'll read this one up. Last question. You've got Dalton Kincaid. You want to snag Komet because tight ends are hard to come by. How much would you spend out of 145 for Komet? Um,
0.
yeah,
I
you already
mean,
have
like,
Kincaid. You're starting Kincaid every week. You don't need to start
so
Komet. So you're just
if you start Komet over Kincaid, you're just trying to be cute at that point. I mean, I think especially this week coming up, Dalton Kincaid's playing the Ravens, and the Ravens have been trash against tight ends this year.
yeah.
And I think Dalton Kincaid is like a top 3 tight end this week.
It,
So
it's it's just about the value of the position supersize. It's when you're in a league that starts one tight end and it's not tight end premium or anything, you don't need to have 2 tight ends on your roster. You just have one that you, especially when you have a good one like Kincaid, you start him every week, and then on his bye week you can pick somebody off waivers to like fill in for the one week. But that way you leave space on your bench for players that you start more positions of. Running back that can fill in if somebody gets hurt. Wide receiver, same thing if somebody gets hurt. So we both agree that like generally with a position where you're only starting one of them, you don't really need to have that backup there that you're not using.
his rebuttal comment is, I won't be starting him. I want him just in case. So here's a theory thing that I'm going to give you, and I promise this is the way to do it. Okay. If okay, like Jeremy said, you should start Kincaid every week. The in case that you're talking about, that's if Kincaid were to get hurt or Kincaid has a bye week. There is always going to be someone on the waiver wire that is that week's Cole Kmet, right? There's no promise that Cole Kmet is going to be that good and thought this highly of every week. What if you don't need
Especially
Cole
Keenan Allen
Kmet?
comes back.
Exactly. You don't need Cole. What if you don't need him till week 10 or week 12 or week 13, right? I mean, then you just had Cole Kmet on your bench for 8 weeks for nothing. That roster spot should be used for someone like Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving,
Yep.
um, someone put a backup running back on your roster. That is the type of person that you want on your bench. Someone that I call it like the one away, right? The one injury away. That is what you want because guess what? If Dalton Kincaid gets hurt, it's not like you're going to be like, guess what, motherfuckers? I got Cole Kmet. I'm going to win everything. Like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, he's not a league winner. He's not going to change your scenario. You can always get a tight end that is as good
Usable.
or really
Yeah.
close to Cole Kmet. So that's just the general strategy. If you have a smash tight end, which you do in Kincaid, you don't need another one. Feeling safe gets you 0 points, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
you want to
don't need.
play as if your team is going to win.
Yes.
Play as if your starting team you have is going to win, and then your bench spots, like Chris said, are for players like, I mean, for example, I had Carson Steele on my team before the Pacheco injury, and I didn't have to spend any fab to get him. He's just sitting on my bench waiting because I had an extra spot, and you just throw a running back in there. You throw a backup running back in there. And so I agree. That's the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I understand. And honestly, people, people love to roster a second QB and they love to roster a second tight end. And I love when people do that because I roster backup running backs
Yep.
and they are the ones that change the game when there's an injury. Having freaking Derek Carr on your bench does nothing for you,
Yeah.
literally nothing. So, just try to get away from rostering backups at the QB and tight end position.
Yeah, and also too, you're taking that running back away from someone else who could use them.
Yep.
Whoever had, say, like God forbid, Brees Hall goes down. Whoever had Brees Hall, you have Braylon Allen on your bench, and their team is now SOL. They don't have the backup because you had them. So it's kind of in that way it helps your team too. Would you all rather have D Adams or Chris Olave, Devontae Adams or Chris Olave? Sorry, Marte season. I'm just gonna. I think they're close, but I love Chris
Yeah.
Olave. I think we're gonna see him just do better and better. So I'm going Chris Olave here. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a coin flip, and I hate to answer
Yeah,
the question that way, but I probably lean Olave, but it's just super close. I mean, I really don't have a preference here. It's two players that I don't tend to roster, so I don't know. I think Olave, their offense just looked a lot better than the Raiders' offense this year so far, so I'll use that as my tiebreaker.
yeah, I think so. Let's supersize it. Yeah, you're starting Kamara and Cook every week, and Singletary and Mostart. Mostart, he's injuries. He's got some injury issues going on there. Singletary, it's tough to think Singletary is going to start the entire season. We could, who knows, but
Um,
you can't grab any more running backs.
oh, can't grab anymore.
Yeah, so they
Hey,
must have
but
a limit.
go check your waivers and come back and tell us. Tell us who your 3 or 4 highest running backs on waiver wire are. There's a few that I think could be there that I'd rather roster over Mostert. I'm just
Yeah,
totally off on him.
that's tough because he comes back healthy and he just runs in touchdowns. He just falls in the end zone. But I feel you there. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Marte, no problem,
the
man.
health thing is the tough thing.
Yeah, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We do Q&A every Tuesday. Feel free to stick around and ask more questions. Would be happy to help you out.
We got about 15 minutes to go here. You want to run through some buy lows?
Yeah, let's do some some buy low and sell high action while we wait for some more questions. Yeah, so who do you have on your buy low list?
So we talked a little when we were talking some of the trades and stuff, but I know you said you were not a fan of this one, but Mike Evans I think is a great buy low candidate. Just he hits 1,000 yards every year. I know he's had some bad games, but he's also had some good defensive players he's played against. Chris Godwin's awesome. I think he's going to continue to do well. I just don't think he's going to continue to have these like giant weeks. I think it'll start to go lean towards the middle. We'll see them both kind of have good weeks again. So I think he's a good buy low. Another one I've got is Romeo Doubs. With Jordan Love potentially coming back this week or maybe next week, I think Dobbs is someone they really like there. And with Love back, he'll feature in the offense alongside Reed. And then lastly, Rashad Shaheed. He's a part of that offense now, and he had a really bad week this last week, but he still had a high
0
target
points.
share.
Yep.
Yeah,
hmm
I started him. It sucked, but he still had a high target share, and I'm just gonna start him again next week. He might burn me again. We'll see.
No, I feel that he was a big part of the offense in the first 2 weeks, and honestly, he was this week too. He just didn't connect on deep balls. So yeah, my buy lows are my number one buy low is Tank Dell. Um, I think the Houston offense is just, off to a bit of a slow start.
Yeah,
I just think Tank Dell is way too talented and has too good of a connection with CJ Stroud to not eventually go off. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I promise that Tank Dell is going to be much, much more productive. He's like all the way down at like wide receiver 55 or 60 so far. So if someone test out the league mate that has Tank Dell, see if you can, I can't think of any ideas right now, but if you have someone on your bench that's kind of performing well, above their standards, try to flip them for Tank Dell. I think he's a prime breakout candidate. And then my other one is kind of just a pair of players, Debo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk. I
yeah.
like, zigging when other people zag, right? Everyone's going to be talking about Juwan Jennings nonstop this week. Juwan Jennings has been on the 49ers for like 3 or 4 years, and this is the one and only time he's going to do this. Um, Debo, I've loved his usage through week 1 and 2. And then Ayuk, there's a reason he's making, $30 million a year. He's really good at football. And I think if you can buy low on either one of them, um, I would do that. So that's who I'm after in trades this week is those three players. Let's get to
So
a question here real
Supersize
quick.
got back to us. So Bucky Irvin, Braylon Allen,
Bro,
Samaje, and Miles
bro,
Sanders.
bro.
Bucky and
Braylon,
Braylon. I think, yeah,
yes.
I was gonna say Braylon. I think I'd take Braylon over Mostert. That's kind of rough. I like Mostert, but
So,
Braylon
okay.
has a lot of upside.
So here, and then you had Singletary. Yes, it's hard to drop Singletary for one of those players,
I don't think you can
but
drop Singletary. Yeah,
no, but
he's getting every week start. That's
I
not
would
possible.
1000% roster Bucky Irving or Braylon Allen over Raheem Mostert. And I think it's a toss up between the two. I'll give you the pros and cons of each and you can decide. But I would not just have Mostert on my bench. I would want one of these guys. So the case for Bucky Irving is Rashad White looks like shit. He's averaging like 2 yards per carry. He was bad again this week. We were talking about how bad he was last week, and Bucky Irving is just so damn efficient. Like Rashad White cannot actually run the ball. He's good out of the backfield on pass catching, but guess what? So is Bucky Irving, like really good at it. Like he led the NCAA in receptions for running backs, like really, really good at it. So I think it's a matter of like as soon as next week or the week after that Bucky Irving's the starter here. So that is what's good about his situation is he could just naturally take over the starting role without an injury. And obviously, if you have an injury, it's like really all his.
Hmm.
Braylon Allen, he's looked like he's passed the eye test like times 10. He is going to be really, really good in the NFL. But unfortunately, he's probably not startable at all unless you get a Brees Hall injury. Um, Brees Hall's been a little bit injury prone, so maybe that's coming. Long-winded way of saying I would roster both of them over Mostert, and it's not really close for me.
I think it's a little closer, but I agree. I think they're a better roster over Boaster right now. But let's get to the next question. I like this one. So thanks for the question, Chris Genova. We appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe. And he says, would you guys trade CMC for Marvin Harrison and B Rob? He's got Kyler and Jaden Daniels. Yeah. So I'll tell you straight up, I would take Harrison for CMC right now. I love Marvin Harrison. So to get Brian Robinson just as a throw-in extra to like solve maybe if you're having a running back issue, that's a great deal. There's so many question marks around CMC. It sucks. It really, really sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But that's an
Cash out,
amazing deal. Yeah, that's an
cash
amazing
out.
deal right there. like I said, I think I would take Harrison straight up over CMC right now. Just he's only going to get better as the year goes. They're
Yeah,
going to keep feeding him targets there, and to get B Rob on top is just great. Also,
I think it's a
if you're in a one QB league, you should
trade one of
probably
his
try
running
to
backs.
move Kyler or Jaden Daniels. Probably Jaden Daniels. I would,
Yeah,
right? What do you think, Chris?
if you're gonna trade, so I mean, getting Marvin Harrison for CMC straight up is a big profit.
Yeah,
CMC is not going to play for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. I don't know.
who
So
knows?
Marvin Harrison's going to help you win now. B Rob's a solid flex. And if you have Kyler, go ahead and trade Jaden Daniels. Package him together with B Rob and go get a running back, right? I mean, that's what I would do. So then you have the Kyler Harrison stack, trade Daniels, who you're probably not going to start, and B Rob and get you a nice running back.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
after Derrick Henry, Jameer Gibbs.
Yep.
Somebody in that range,
Hmm.
even Kyron.
Yep. I dig that. Okay. Kingy Yusuf. I don't know how to say that. I traded Ramadre, Devontae, and Singletary for Olave and Kenneth Walker. Did I get scammed?
No,
No,
good
you
job,
did
man.
not get
Good
scammed.
job.
You dominated.
Good work. Yes, we like it.
Yeah.
We're not fans of Ramondre. Or really, Singletary is solid, but he's not going to give you those giant weeks.
So
Kenneth
Olave,
Walker, we think he's
yeah.
back soon, and Olave, we think is going to be bouncing back and
So
having some good games.
Olave and Devonte Adams, we just had a question a few minutes ago how they were pretty much a wash, right? So if you kind of take them out of the deal, it's for Madre and Singletary for Kenneth Walker. I like Kenneth Walker a lot more than
Yeah,
Ramadre, so I think it's worth the consolidation there. Kenneth Walker's looked really damn good, and that offense is humming. So as soon as he gets back healthy, Zach Charbonnet has just been eating in his absence. And
yep,
so I think Kenneth Walker is primed to have a really good couple really good weeks when he gets back.
I agree. Yeah, I
And
think
like you said, you're deep at running back, right? So you have Alvin Kamara, Najee, and Jordan Mason. You don't need Ramadre and Singletary. So this is a
yep,
great consolidation effort here.
yeah,
Good job.
awesome trade. Good work there for sure.
All right. Good job, man. Yeah. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. And stop by next Tuesday and ask some more questions or hang around tonight. We'll be here for another couple minutes. All right. Jeremy, give me your sell highs. So players that have been doing really good either this past week or the whole season that you want to cash out on.
Yeah, so I brought one back from last week, J.K. Dobbins. Still, I do think he's talented, and I know they're giving him all the carries, but I still think he could be a sell high for you, especially from where you drafted him. He's probably like an RB3 potentially on your team. So you could use him, package him, try to tier up somewhere else, whether it's running back or into a top, elite wideout position. Is usually my favorite way to go with it. And then also Amari Cooper, he just had a great, not like a great game, but a good game, a bounce back game. But I am just so scared to touch anything on Cleveland's. Um, I had high hopes for Amari Cooper, but unless like they bench Deshaun Watson for Jameis Winston, I think I want to get rid of Amari Cooper. What do you think of those?
Yeah. Definitely dig that. I don't want any part of Cleveland offense.
Yeah,
So I like that. Dobbins, it's like I'm a little bit gun shy because I kind of
understandable. Yeah.
I have him a lot of places because he was so cheap
Oh yeah.
during draft season that it's like, you kind of if you have him on your team, you kind of are profiting, right? But
Oh yeah.
it's funny because like the teams I have him on, week one, I don't think I really started him anywhere, and then week two, you're like, ooh, you're tentative about it, and then week three, he didn't do quite as good. So it's like you've yet to really
Yeah.
um, have a good game of his, in your on your starting lineup. So I agree. I think he's a good sell high. I would be a little bit clenched when I did it.
Yeah. So how about your sell highs?
Yeah, my sell highs are two running backs. Number one is Aaron Jones. Vikings offense has looked really good. Um, I don't know how sustainable it is at this level. My thing with Aaron Jones is um, he's a 29-year-old running back that runs very physical. He always invites contact, and I just think there's not really a scenario that Aaron Jones gets you a majority plays the majority of a season. He's goes through injuries quite a bit. Last year, I don't know how many games he played last year, but it felt like about 10 or something. But they have a good backup in Ty Chandler. I just don't think he's going to produce at this level. He's running back 9 on the year thus far. I just think it's a really good sell high window on Aaron Jones. Um, my other one is Chuba Hubbard. This is for a couple different reasons. So Chuba Hubbard had, 170 yards this past week. I just think it's a good time to sell any and all Panthers. I just don't have confidence long term in them. They just scored 36 points and blew out the Raiders. But Chuba Hubbard, I just want to sell high. I just don't like the talent. I get he was pretty serviceable at the end of last year, but Jonathan Brooks is due back after his IR stint, and I just don't think Chuba Hubbard's ever going to get near my starting lineup once Jonathan Brooks is back. So if anyone is desperate for running back, I just think he's a good quick flip because of his huge week that he had this week. What do you think?
I agree. Aaron Jones only started 11 games last year. He did start 17 the year before that. And also there's Ty Chandler's right there waiting in the wings, a guy Minnesota likes a lot. I am actually up on Minnesota offense. They're doing this without Jordan Addison and without Hawkinson, who both they're going to get back. Addison, we think soon. Hawkinson, there isn't a timeline that I know of. Maybe after their bye. So I have Sam Darnold as actually a potential add this week because I think he's just going to continue to play well and be a top 12 quarterback.
Yeah, he's looked really, really good.
Yeah. So question here from Christopher Howell. Thanks for your question, man. Make sure you like and subscribe. Should you trade Garrett Wilson and DK for Godwin, Kupp, and T. Higgins? I'm kind of thinking no on this one too. I know it's been a tough start for Garrett Wilson. He's been okay, but not what you drafted him to be, right? And the Jets don't have an easy schedule going the next handful of games. I think if you can stick with him, you'll see him pay dividends, the second half of the season, and he'll still be okay, and he could get some spike weeks in there. Whereas DK, we were just saying we like the Seattle offense. We think they're going to keep doing better and better. Kupp, is there even a timeline on him? I haven't heard one. Yeah. And then T. Higgins is still working his way back. I know Godwin is like the number one wide receiver, but I don't think it's sustainable for him. He'll still be great this year, but he's not going to be. I don't think he could be a top 10 the rest of the year.
I like the Garrett Wilson and DK side by a pretty good margin here. I think Garrett Wilson, like we were talking about, is even maybe a buy low candidate. Yeah. Alan Lazard is not going to keep getting all these touchdowns. Garrett Wilson, you can tell there might just be a little bit of gaining trust there from Aaron Rodgers, but time will tell. Garrett Wilson, I think he's really going to turn it on here shortly. DK's just been having a great year, and I just think he's just so solid. He's just always a locked and loaded, top 12 to 15 guy with a great offensive coordinator now. Godwin, it just screams like regression to the mean. Evans has not been producing. Godwin's a little bit been overproducing. We love Godwin this year. We said, he should not have been drafted, in the wide receiver 30s. That was egregious. Yeah. So you've profited with him if you've had him so far. I just don't trade for hurt players. Cooper Kupp is hurt. Cooper Kupp is old. We loved what we saw week 1, but I'm just not trading for Cooper Kupp at this price. And T. Higgins, he finally got in a game, and so he's been hurt too. Don't seek injuries. Injuries will find you. So that's where I'm at with this trade.
Yeah. Keep Wilson and DK for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Next question. I've got an easy answer for you, Justin. Appreciate the question. Make sure you like and subscribe. AR or Jane Daniels? This guy. Just this guy. This guy. The rest of the season, just do it. Yeah. No, if you told me this before the season started, I would have said Anthony Richardson. Even being a Washington fan, rookies take time to develop generally, but after seeing this last week, we saw the deep ball, we saw the accuracy there. We saw him making great decisions, all the things that Anthony Richardson is not doing right now. I will say, I think it's close. I think you could kind of almost flip a coin and go one way or the other. But right now, I think I like Jaden Daniels rest of the season. I would take him.
Yeah. Man, it's tough. I mean,
I mean, if you're in that position, trade one of them. If you have both, trade one of them and get
yeah,
get a run,
I don't
try to
really know
upgrade up
your
running back or wide
situation,
receiver. Yeah,
Justin. Yeah, like Jeremy said, if you're rostering both, pick one and trade. I don't think it really matters too much. Trade the one that someone's gonna pay for, like give you
yeah.
the better price for,
Whatever they
right?
pay more for. Yeah,
Because I think they're gonna be pretty neck and neck. I mean, Daniels has looked better by a wide margin to start the year, but Richardson, I really think his offense is just going to be better when it's all said and done. But yeah, probably Daniels by a hair there. Thanks for the question, Justin. So Andrew says London for Waddle, White, JSN, Singletary. I don't get it.
yeah. I'm a little confused. Is just doing London for Waddle straight up there, or London for that all those players together? Because that's
I would take the package.
yeah. I would take the package there,
If it's London
and
for
then
those
use the
four
package to
players,
trade and get somebody better than London. Like,
yeah, I would do London for maybe even for Waddle and JSN only.
yeah, yeah. 'Cause
Yeah,
we think JSN's going to have a good year.
yeah, I don't
I'm
really
worried about
understand.
Waddle, but he could be a fill in.
Yeah, I would take the package side pretty comfortably there. I have Anthony Richardson and tempted to send him away for Daniels. I just drafted so high in Superflex. Okay,
So
okay.
you're trying to trade Richardson straight up for Jaden Daniels.
So don't
Is that
do
what
it
you're
straight
saying?
up. So that I think that's
Yeah,
where we're at with this. Like
yeah,
if you have an owner that's trying to move Daniels, trying to sell high on Daniels, and you want him, trade Richardson and get a profit on top of Daniels. So
yes,
like tier up a running back or like tier up a receiver or tier up at tight end or something. Or just get like a see what I love doing here is trade Richardson and Richardson for Daniels and like look at the running backs on his bench. Like get like a Ty Chandler or Braylon Allen or Bucky Irving or something like that. Like something that's like kind of going to mean nothing to him, so to speak. But it's a valuable, lottery ticket for your bench. So that's what I would do
yeah.
here.
Or try to upgrade. If they like Richardson better, try to send like Richardson and a running back for Daniels and like a better running back, or
Yeah.
Richardson and a wide receiver for Daniels and a slightly better wide receiver. Try to tier up a little bit in that way, um, and see if they'll do that. But yeah, it's straight up for Daniels. It's like we were saying, it's kind of a coin toss. I do like Jaden better, but and also
Yeah.
sometimes fantasy is about fun, man. If you love Jaden Daniels and you want him and that's how you get him, go for it because
Yep.
sometimes it is just about having fun.
Yeah. So the previous trade, London for Waddle, White. Yeah. I mean, that's the package by like 5 miles. So I don't really care. Yeah.
Well, I
So
think we could tell him like switch up the package a little bit. If you have Hill, so you're trying to trade away these guys for London because you have Hill? I'm a
no,
little confused which side you're
no, I
getting
think he
here.
doesn't want to acquire Waddle because he has Hill.
Okay. I mean, I would still do London for White, JSN. Wait, would you trade Waddle for White, JSN, and Singletary? No, we don't.
Yeah.
We're not huge on White and
No,
Singletary,
no,
but
it's trading London. He has London, and he's going to trade it for those four people. I would still do that. I don't care if you
yeah,
had Tyreek Hill. Yeah,
and then just trade some of that package away to tier up at other positions and stuff.
yeah. Okay. Thanks for the question, Andrew. Appreciate it. Roma Dunze or Darnell Mooney. Dunze for me by a good amount.
Agreed. Yeah, Adunze. We saw him have a nice breakout game. I don't know if we'll get that every week, but he's just going to get better.
Let's just we'll keep this one simple. I mean, Adunze is a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, and Darnell
Yeah.
Mooney is been a wide receiver for the last 4 years. I mean,
Yeah.
limited upside there. This one's like not even close to
Yeah.
me. Rome all
Then
day.
Andrew did give us his team, so he's got Josh Allen, Barkley, ETN, Lamb, Tyreek, and it's a 10-man.
Yeah, I just London's cool and all, but I think that I would Like,
I don't know. In a 10-man, I think I just hold on to London
nah. I mean, there's just too many.
because
Like, I
he's not
think
going to start. He's not going to start any of those guys. He's going to start JSN probably, and that's it, right? Because he's got ETN and
I
Barkley
think
in the
there's
game.
a chance that like Waddle and JSN could be better than London, right? Individually, right? I don't know. London's just not.
Um,
He's not quite elite enough for me to. I mean, this package is just unreal.
yeah, it's a lot, but the problem is like it's a 10-team league, so he's just saying it's 10-man league, and he's probably not. Is he going to start any of these guys? That's where
Yeah,
it becomes
Singletary doesn't matter
so
in a 10
confusing.
team league. I hear
Yeah,
that, but I don't know. I'm usually not like a take the package guy, but I'm taking Waddle, Rashad White, and JSN for London. I just have to.
yeah. Okay, then
Yeah,
yeah, but
it's
go for it, dude, and then just try to use that package maybe to trade up
mhm,
and get some value out of the package. And of those guys, I'd probably be starting JSN to replace London for
mhm.
now until we see what happens with Miami, the quarterback situation there.
Yep, agree with that. Yeah, take the value in the package and then make another move with the pieces that you have. Maybe try to
I'm
tier
sure
up
there's
off
some team. Yeah, I'm
ETN.
sure there's some team that needs running backs. So
Yeah, I would take the package and then trade Waddle and ETN or JSN and ETN and tier up at running back from ETN.
yeah, try to go for a
Uh,
top guy.
yeah. Okay.
Just got some waiver targets, I think, and then
Yeah.
we'll wrap
Run
up.
through some waivers, then wrap it up.
So we talked earlier about I think Jawan Jennings is a top waiver target this week. As long as Debo and Kittle are out, he's going to get more targets. He's going to have some good games. And then we talked briefly Braylon Allen, if he's still there, Bucky Irving, probably shouldn't still be there, but if he is, snatch them up. We talked about CEH just as like a kind of sneaky ad. He might come back week 5, they're saying, and that backfield is by no means completely Carson Steele's if CEH comes back. I think Romeo Dobbs, a lot of people might have been frustrated. He might be sitting on your waiver wire because of the Jordan Love injury. Jordan Love's coming back, and Romeo Dobbs will feature in the offense. We talked about Cole Kmet with Chicago, Roshan Johnson, also Chicago, kind of a deeper ad there. Um, Darnell Mooney, we've seen a few weeks of Mooney being pretty well. I think he's just some guy that shouldn't be sitting on the waiver wire anymore. And then quarterbacks, I've got Geno Smith and Sam Darnold. I like Geno Smith better than Sam Darnold. They get the Lions this week. Should be a nice kind of fantasy game for him. And then Sam Darnold, we were talking about earlier, he's doing really well without all his weapons. He's got Jefferson going crazy, and Aaron Jones had a good week, but he's getting Addison back soon, and eventually he'll get Hawkinson back. He could just stay a top 12, top 10 quarterback the rest of the way. And then my defenses this week, I've got the Raiders we talked about, and then Titans and Dolphins, either one of those.
Great.
Anything you got?
Yeah, the only thing we didn't talk about the Denver backfield, but I think it's like so ugly. Maybe we just don't talk
It's so
about it.
ugly.
Javonte Williams is just kind of looking like a complete bust. The reason I want to talk about
Yeah,
Javonte Williams is I really think he's going to get dropped in some leagues this week.
it could. Yeah, I could see that happening.
So, obviously you can't pick him up because he's rostered now, but like I think next week we're going to be talking about do we pick up Javonte Williams if he got dropped? Yeah, that's a tough one. The only one I wanted to add was, I'm kind of in on Rico Dowdle a little bit. And then, no one else besides the folks that you mentioned. Maybe I kind of like this strategy. The people that have uh, Nick Chubb or Jonathan Brooks, if they're like 0-3 or 1-2, and you have a good record, I kind of like going to them and trying to pry them away from the teams that are like desperate for a win, like now. They can't wait.
Yeah,
So
I would take
just
Brooks over Chubb in that situation.
oh for sure.
I'd go
But
after Brooks
yeah,
first.
hmm yeah, I think 0-3 teams are willing right now to make trades and shake things up. So
Yeah.
um, something to look at there. Yeah, that's really it. So yep, appreciate you all coming by, and it was a fun Q&A session. So Thank you all for coming, and please like the channel, subscribe to the channel, and we will hopefully see you next Tuesday. Good luck this weekend.
Yeah,
See ya.
good luck, guys. See you next week.
Bye.